What is up, Fanatics? It is the season finale, the regular season finale for Iowa State today against West Virginia, 2:30 kick. And this is your Cyclone Fanatic Game Day show. Of course, we are, as always, presented by our good friends at the Iowa Clinic and the Iowa Clinic Men's Center. I want to give a shout out today to a gentleman named Pat. I've never met Pat, but he's from Big Game USA, and they create and sell footballs. Well, he's always seeing, I don't even know where it is, the football that I'm always tossing around on these videos. It's a game football from the old Alliance of American Football. John Pettit from the Barnstormers gave that to me as a souvenir because he knew I was a big fan of that league. Well, Pat from Big Game USA is a big Cyclone fan, and they make the Iowa State footballs. And he didn't want me throwing around that piece of garbage Wilson ball anymore. So he got me this, and it's awesome. I'm really happy about it. And Pat, little do you know, I'm a geek for this stuff. I'll have this thing like displayed. I love. My wife thinks I'm a hoarder and just like to collect crap, but stuff like this means a lot to me. So thank you very much, sir. And I will be tossing this awesome Iowa State game ball around from now on. And let's with that, let's fire up today's top five as we look forward to Iowa State and West Virginia. 2:30 kickoff again here. This football game is, if you guys read my column from Friday, I think a much bigger game than what most people really know that it's going to be. And we'll get to that momentarily. We want to start things off, though, with our Big 12 preview. Got 3 11 o'clock games coming up this morning. Oklahoma State at TCU, Kansas at Texas Tech, and Texas at Kansas State. Two of those games much better than one. Listen, I'll say it right now. I'm picking TCU to beat Oklahoma State in this one. It's too like a pick 'em now. I just think you have teams going in totally opposite directions. Oklahoma State is beaten up. I think TCU is kind of playing for Gary Patterson at this point. He's not going to get fired. But I think that they are a football team with a lot of character. I think this is like a last stand for TCU to get that marquee victory of the season for them. I'm picking TCU to win that football game. Oklahoma State to be eliminated from Big 12 championship competition. Kansas, Texas Tech needs no analysis. What do we expect from Texas, Kansas State? Really, I don't know how to read this game. Texas is either going to circle the wagons for Tom Herman because there's been so much chatter of him getting fired all weekend, or is Texas going to completely just fold? I could see that too. Nothing really to play for. Iowa State crushed their dreams last week. Go State. Horns down. What about Kansas State, though? I don't know really what they are at this point. This is a weird game. I don't know what to expect. I picked Texas to win this. I'd be close. I'm not really confident either way in that one. The night game tonight is Baylor at Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma rolls. I think that's an ugly football game. Oklahoma's just steamrolling everybody. They're coming back from COVID. They may be down a few guys, but they're a lot better than Baylor. All right, game of the week in the Big 12. I really do think it is West Virginia at Iowa State tonight. And listen, this is a very important football game for the Cyclones. And number one, it has to be control your emotions. For those of you who are not familiar with the sports betting world, that's kind of how I like to break games down. And the reason I do that is not for the betting purpose. I do that. I like power ratings. I like the analytics because there's no emotion involved there. And if you can take your emotion out of these games, then you can do more productive analysis for your audience. And that's why I like to look at it. And the reason why this point spread is now under a down, well, there's a couple reasons. Analytically, the teams are pretty even. But this is what they call a bad gambling spot for the Cyclones, where you're coming off of an emotional win, maybe the biggest in your school's history. You've played 2 weeks in a row. West Virginia's had 2 weeks off. They've been preparing for you. You, on the surface, don't have anything to play for because you're all but locked into the Big 12 championship game. I'm going to get to that in a moment. Where West Virginia still has a chance to get in, right? They're a very young and hungry football team. So you first of all, before we get to the physical aspect of this football game, don't beat yourself mentally. I don't think Iowa State will. That is kind of, in my opinion, so you say what is the identity of Iowa State football in year 500, Matt Campbell? That would be it to me. Mentally tough. That whole thing that Brees said last week, the 5-star culture thing. Like I think that's the identity of Iowa State football. So there you go. Control those emotions as we get into this football game. Let's go next, and we'll start with the physical aspect of the football game. And I think this is the most important key for Iowa State, and that is a fast start. Here's why. The Kansas State, Iowa State got off to a 35-0 lead in the first half. What did we see in the second half? A very vanilla offering from Matt Campbell to be able to protect the lead. I think if Iowa State can get up 2 scores in the first half of this football game, based on my next key, and we'll get to defensive effort from Iowa State. Defense is they actually play defense in Morgantown now. But if you can run the football, Iowa State has such an efficient offense. It's going to really make life easier on Tom Manning, the play callers, and that to me is really the ultimate key in this game. Go down there and get a touchdown on your first possession, right? Because then you can play your style of football. What I don't want to see is what we saw a few weeks ago against Baylor, where Iowa State got down early. I don't want to have to be forcing my hand and being a one-dimensional offense, having to throw the football in this football game, because West Virginia is really good on defense. And I think that that would be a more difficult comeback for Iowa State than it was a couple of weeks ago. So get ahead early. Stopping the run on the other side, this is such a generic key, but this is West Virginia's offense reminds me of what we saw from Texas Tech a couple of months ago, right? Where Iowa State stopped the run in that football game, made Texas Tech one-dimensional, and they had no answer. And there is a little bit of a parallel here. Remember Seth Dagey, the former Texas Tech quarterback? Well, his brother is the quarterback at West Virginia. Neil Brown was the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech. Very similar styles, and they've struggled a little bit, I think, by their standards on offense this year. I think this is where Iowa State wins the football game. If they can make West Virginia one-dimensional, I don't think West Virginia can score many points against this Iowa State defense. God, I'm sounding like Matt Campbell, this complimentary football crap. It's like he's brainwashed me, but the guy happens to know quite a bit about the sport, so I'm going to roll with it. And this is how Iowa State wins with its defense. We saw it last week too. The offense went down and had that nice possession at the end, but Iowa State wins with its defense, and I think that'll be the case on Saturday too. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a lower scoring football game by Big 12 standards, of course. And finally, this is where I wanted to spend the most of my time with you guys today on the Iowa Clinic Cyclone Fanatic Game Day show here on all the Cyclone Fanatic social media platforms, is just win. And here's the reason. So I actually had people tweeting at me last week saying, well, Iowa State rest its starters against West Virginia. Absolutely not. And here's why. I could make the argument to you guys, and I'm going to attempt to do it right now, and I'm getting tired of doing this because I feel like we're doing it every week right now, but I could make the argument that this is the most important game in the history of Iowa State football. And you might ask me, why? Why, Chris? We've already all but clinched a spot in the Big 12 championship game. Correct. But there's never been a game in the history of Iowa State football where there's a bigger carrot dangling on the other end, if that makes any sense. And from what my sources are telling me, that now that Iowa State is number 9 in the college football playoff rankings, there's significant interest from the Fiesta Bowl in Iowa State. If Iowa State wins this game, I think there's a real scenario that even with a loss in the Big 12 championship game, Iowa State would end up in a New Year's Six Bowl, being the Fiesta Bowl. So that, again, if you see what I'm saying, like, one, a win would clinch the Big 12 title game. That's all but done. But two, Iowa State's never been playing to be in a position to go to a New Year's Six game. This is a huge game This is massive. I mean, we think back to those games in '04 and '05 where it's like, oh, we can get into the title game and lose by 30 to Texas. No, you win this game on Saturday, and you're in a BCS game. That's insane for Iowa State. So this is, though, if you got anybody, in your text chain or whatever saying that Iowa State doesn't have anything to play for today, they're crazy. This is a huge game. So that's why I say just win. And if you get out of here alive, you win the Big 12 outright in the regular season, which is incredible. And you're probably going to a New Year's Six bowl game. What? I mean, come on. You kidding me? Go Clones. I've got Iowa State. I think I said 27-13. I think this is a little more spaced out than what a lot of experts think, but we will see. But I'm rolling with the Clones in this one, and I'm really looking forward to the football game. You can join us. Brett Meyer, Matt Van Winkle, and I will be here at halftime on all of the Cyclone Fanatic social media platforms. Jared Stansberry and Rob Gray will be here after the game. And I want to encourage you guys, it's the last week where you can enter our Iowa Pork Tailgate Challenge, where I'm going to tweet out the link and do all sorts of good stuff. But the end of the year, we're going to pull out a winner, and you're going to get a Traeger grill, courtesy of our friends at Iowa Pork. That is an incredible deal. So check that out, and I would highly recommend entering that, and hopefully you can get a big win. All right, thanks to Matt Van Winkle for producing today's program. Thanks to our friends at the Iowa Clinic and the Iowa Clinic Men's Center for their ongoing sponsorship. Go Cyclones, 27-13. That's the call. Have an awesome day watching college football with your families.